to 6th grade math. Today's lesson will be integer operations. We'll be covering 4 operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And I'm your teacher, Mr. Falken. Any questions before we proceed? Very good. We'll just go right on into the next slide. So I'd like to introduce you to a really interesting song. It helps you keep track of what signs go with what operations. And we'll go straight to YouTube here.
Here's a little video to show you the rules for integers that go with the little song that I'm sure you are familiar with. I'm going to go through it a few times so you can hear it more than once.
That's a cute little song, isn't it? The sign of the bigger number, and they will be exact. All right. So, next video we have is integer operations, and it says to be cool, use the right rule. Let's have a look at this.
Integer operations. This lesson is about
explanation for gravity.
You've been
Is
using
that
integers your
matter
whole life.
bends
You've been talking about
space.
adding 3
So
plus
you put
5,
mass in a place in space,
4
and
minus
work
2,
space-time.
and you've been getting an answer. Well, now we're talking about positive and negative numbers. You've done a lot of these, I'm sure, in the 8th grade. We are going to expand that now so that you know how to apply all your rules for addition, subtraction, multiplication, division with positive and negative integers. First rule we're going to apply is with addition and subtraction. Make sure you write these rules in your notebook. It's a good thing for you to look back throughout the summer because first thing in algebra, you are going to be using these numbers a lot. The first rule, if the signs are the same, add the numbers and keep the sign. You don't realize it, but you've been using this rule your whole life. 2 plus 1. This is a kindergarten problem. Both numbers are positive, so your answer was also positive. This is old. You've done this since kindergarten. Nothing's changed. Now let's apply the same thing to negative numbers. Let's say we had negative 2 plus negative 3. Well, the signs are the same, so we're just going to add the numbers and keep the sign. So you have 2 plus 3, you get 5. And since the signs are the same, you get negative 5. Now, we kind of hit a little problem over here because the problem is talking about addition, but we have plus a negative right here. I'm going to tell you from now on what you're going to do is you're going to minimize that to one sign. Plus a negative, you're just going to make it minus 3. So you actually had negative 2 minus 3. The signs were the same, so we added the number and kept the sign. I do not want to see things the way they are in this part. The reason I showed it to you this way is because the examples that are given to you might look like that. I want you to change it instantly. Second rule, if the signs are different, subtract the numbers and keep the sign of the larger number. For example, 9 minus 7. Well, you know how to do this. 9 minus 7 was 2. You've been doing this for a while. Now, to apply the rule, the signs are different. This is positive 9, and this is negative 7. 9 minus 7 equals 2. The answer was positive. The bigger number was 9. The sign of the 9 was positive. We subtracted the numbers and kept the sign. Now let's say we did this exact same problem in reverse, and instead we did 7 minus 9. Well, now it's different. 7 is obviously smaller than 9, so you've never subtracted it that way in kindergarten and on. So now, the signs are different. We subtract the numbers, so 9 minus 7 gave you 2, and keep the sign of the bigger number. So we have to keep that negative sign. So the correct answer for 7 minus 9 would be negative 2.
Okay, this
Let's try some
video is
addition
about 10
problems.
minutes long,
Pause
so
the
we're
video
going
for a few
to
seconds, try these
stop
problems
here.
before you hear the answers.
And we're going to resume our presentation with a little humor. So here's a young student who's trying to prove to the teacher that 2 plus 2 equals 5. We all know that's not right. Again and again and again. And the teacher says, I appreciate your persistence, but that's never going to be wrong. Double negative. Think about that. So here's some vocabulary. So first we want to talk about the absolute value. So the absolute value is really how far is a number from 0. So here's 0. An example, 6 is 6 away from 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So but also minus 6 is also 6 away from 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the absolute value of 6 is 6. In other words, it is the magnitude of the number. Negatives don't apply. The symbol here is placed on either side to mean absolute value. So we write absolute value of negative 6 is equal to 6. Next vocabulary word. Integer. An integer is a number with no fractional parts, no decimals. It includes the counting numbers of 1, 2, 3, and so on. It includes 0, and it includes the negative of the counting numbers, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. We can write them all down like this. Start at 0, 1, negative 1, 2, negative 2, 3, negative 3, and so on. So here are some examples of integers. Negative 16, negative 3, 0, 1, 198. Again, no fractional parts, no decimals. Next word for our vocabulary today is the inverse of addition is subtraction. That's so there are inverses of operations. So the inverse of adding is subtracting. So for example, if we add 20 plus 9, we get 29. This can be reversed by 29 minus 9 equals 20. So this example is the inverse of this example. We're going from here to here, and now we're going back from 20 to 29. And the other way around, example 15 minus 3 is 12. This can be reversed or inversed as 12 plus 3 equals 15. So here we're going from 15 to 12, and here we're going from 12 to 15. First operation is subtracting 3, and the second operation is adding 3. Next vocabulary word. So the inverse of multiplying is dividing. Here's a funny one for you. You know, bacteria are the only creatures on earth that can multiply by dividing. I can't do that, can you? So the inverse of multiplying is dividing. Multiplying can be undone by dividing. For example, 5 times 9 is 45. The reverse of that is 45 here, divided by 9 gives us 5. What would happen if you, for example, divided 45 by 5? Well, the answer is obvious, it would be 9. It works the other way around too. Dividing can be undone by multiplying. For example, 10 divided by 2 equals 5. It can be reversed or inversed by multiplying 5 by 2 to get 10. Any questions? Operation. Operation is a mathematical process. The most common are adding, subtracting, multiplying, and divide. So here's add, subtract, multiply, divide. Add, subtract, multiply, divide. But there are many more, such as squaring, square root, logarithm, exponents, etc. If it isn't a number, it is probably either a coefficient or an operation. We'll get to coefficients later. Example, in this equation here, 25 plus 6 equals 31. The operation is what? Here's the operation. And. Very good. So an inverse operation is an operation that reverses the effect of another operation. For example, addition and subtraction are inverse operations. Start with 7, and we add 3, and we get 10. Now, if we subtract 3 from 7, from 10, that is, you get back to 7. So that's an inverse. And then multiplication and division are the inverse operations of each other. So 6 multiplied by 2, what do we get? 12. Now divide 12 by 2, we get back to 6. Should we plain there? Any questions? No. Zero pair. A pair of numbers whose sum is 0. For example, positive 1, negative 1. This is used to illustrate addition and subtraction problems with positive and negative integers. For example, it's often used as tiles or counters to help students with the addition and subtraction of positive and negative integer. Based on the idea that a zero pair cancels each other out. For example, positive 1 added to negative 1, you saw that up here, zero pair, it results in 0. So therefore it has no effect on the final answer. If this portion was part of another equation, we could ignore it. It has no effect on the final answer of the equation. So here, here's your introduction to multiplying. In the parable of the unforgiving servant. Here's Jesus surrounded by his disciples. He's teaching them a lesson. And Peter comes to him and says, Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Until 7 times? And Jesus said unto him, I do not say to you until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. Well, I can count to 7 real easily. No problem there. But how do we count to 70 times 7? It's more fingers I got on my hands. So we're going to use multiplying to find that answer. But before we do, next lesson. I'm going to distribute the worksheets. We're going to work some problems in addition. So we're going to add 21 plus 22. So we have the ones, we have the tens. So because we have a plus and a minus, if you remember what it was in the video, we can change that to a minus. So 21 minus 22 is equal to, what do you saw I say there? 21 plus, well, that becomes a plus and minus, they become just a minus. And 22, this is the bigger number. So the difference is 1, and we carry the sign over, it becomes negative 1. See how that works? Let's try one more. We're taking minus 29 plus 23 equals, okay? So we see we have the 6 different signs. So we're going to subtract this from a larger number and carry over the sign. So 23 from 29 is what? 6, right? And we carry that minus sign over, it's minus 6. We'll do one more and then we'll let you finish the sheet. So here we have minus 46 plus 33. What does that equal to? 46, again, is bigger than 33. So we'll preserve the sign. The difference between these is 13. And since the 46 is the bigger number, we'll carry the sign over. Any questions on that? All right, so we will go on to the next one, which will be subtraction. I'm going to hand out the worksheet on subtraction. And in the interest of time, we're going to skip ahead here in the lesson. We have multiplication, we have division, And then, after we're finished with all that, we go back to our presentation. So we have distributed the worksheets, we worked example problems, we assisted the students with classwork. Now we're ready to wrap this up. So back to the parable of the unforgiving servant. How much is 70 times 7? Well, we could do it this way. We could take 70 and add it 7 times. That's kind of tedious. There, 70 plus 70 is 140, plus another 70 is 210, and so on. That's going to take a while. Or we can take 70 sevens, add them up. There's 10 sevens there, 10 sevens there. 7 plus 7 is 14, plus 7 is 21, plus 7 more is 28, and so on. That's going to take a while, but here we've got multiplication. 70 times 7. Let's put that up on the board and we'll multiply it. Okay, both numbers are positive, so we don't have to worry about the signs. 7 times 0. Well, that's easy. That's 0. 7 times 70. That's 7 times 7 is 49, but because it's a tens place, we're going to move it over 1, and we get 490. So, when Jesus said 70 times 7, he wasn't talking about a measly 7 times, he's talking about 490. That's a big number, and it makes it much easier to calculate that way. So, any questions or comments? Well, very good. Thank you for your time and attention. We are done with operations. See you tomorrow.